Let's go, girls. Come on.
From New York City to Los Angeles, Powered Up with Beck and Franklin is giving women of all ages permission to live the life they've always dreamed of. Why live in black and white when you can choose the brilliance of 3D and Technicolor? Each week, Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin and their high-powered guests will be here to cheer you on, to share their challenges, their successes, and what they've learned along the way. It's all about women supporting women. The stories and practical tips on sex, beauty, money, and so much more are designed to help you reconnect to the powerful woman you are. Fabulous knows no limits. Now it's time for you to expand your boundaries. Here are Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with Linda Franklin and this is Powered Up Talk Radio, and we have a great guest today in Wendy Dotson. She's going to talk about midwives from Haiti and starting her midnight business and having a successful one at that. And then we're going to round out the hour with talking to our intimacy expert, and he is going to give us segment 3 on our better intimacy for 2014 with our partners. But before we get to our guests, I'd like to go to my favorite co-host, Linda Franklin. And Linda, you are a winner, and you're a winner in my book, whether you win something or not. But you were so excited today about winning something. So tell me, what did you win?
Well, it was last week. I went to a luncheon at the Wings Club, and it was a great lunch at the Yale Club. And this is everybody from the aviation area, and they had a raffle of a door prize, and the door prize was 2 first-class tickets. I'm hearing such a bad echo that I really can't focus.
Okay. You work on fixing your echo. I think you need to mute your Skype. But I'm going to pick up where you left along, because you won 2 first-class tickets on Alaska Airlines, which is so exciting because that just opens up a literal world of possibilities of places you can go. And I know, Linda, we can afford to buy our own plane tickets, even though it's not fun to buy the plane tickets. But when you get something free, it's so exciting because it's like a double treat. You get to truly just get on the plane and enjoy it and go anywhere Alaska Airline flies.
That's right. And so they fly to California, they fly to Alaska, they fly to Hawaii.
Ooh.
So I've got a lot of choices to make. But the craziest thing is that everybody put in their business cards, and I'm sorry, I'm just having so much trouble because I'm just hearing myself echo back.
You know what, Linda? We're gonna have the studio hang up and call you back, and I'm going to keep talking to fill the airtime.
Okay, please.
People can't wait to hear what I have to say this week. Actually, I do have a great story this week, and it's so exciting for me because I've been working with my dad now for 5 months, and he lives with me half the year, and my dad is 80 years old. And when my dad came from New York to stay with me, he was overweight. He was gray-skinned, he had no energy, and his skin cancer had caused a lot of peeling on his face and his arms. And me being me, of course, took charge of things. And I changed his nutrition. I pulled him off of meats except for 30% of protein coming from his day. Many times it's from plant protein or tofu or protein powder. I also ramped up his vegetable intake so that he gets either fruits or vegetables. 3/4 of his meal is comprised of fruits and vegetables. His desserts are fruit. His snacks are fruit. And the remaining things that he eats, he can snack on celery and carrots and radishes and cauliflower. And thankfully, I am I am local to a lot of California growers, so I can pick up, beautiful produce for free. Well, 5 months into this, I kid you not, Linda, and everybody listening, I went to the park yesterday where I take my dad and he walks a mile. So I look over at him and I see him jogging, and I couldn't believe my eyes. At first, I'm like, oh my God, he's having a heart attack. He's running for the ambulance. And then he stopped and he, adjusted his headphones because I got him an iPod with John Philip Sousa marches. My dad was Navy, so he likes to hear the military music. And he starts walking again. And I'm like, well, I'll be damned. And Linda, I went up to my dad and I said, Dad, what were you doing? And he's like, you know what? I felt so good. I thought I'd run and just see if I could run. And I said, when was the last time you ran? And he thought about it and he said, it's got to be, I don't know, 55 years. He said, probably when I was in college, playing baseball, or, he also played football in high school. He said, other than maybe chasing you kids when you were little, I don't remember any of that. And the fact that we could change an 80-year-old's physiology almost completely in 5 months, somebody who has cancer, somebody who has prostate cancer, and change him through meditation, yoga, nutrition, and exercise is just, Linda, I've been jazzed all week. I couldn't believe my eyes.
No, I mean, there's tons of studies on things just like that, and they say you're never too old to start exercising because your body will adapt. Your body will adapt quickly. I mean, sometimes you hear about people that didn't start to do running until they were, 75 or 80, and they beat the 23-year-old. So it is amazing. But what we put in our bodies is just so very, very important.
It's so very important. I was reading an article about chemotherapy, and, they were talking about chemotherapy being the addition of chemicals into our diet. And all I could think of, Linda, was, oh my God, I said, chemotherapy, we have that every day when we eat foods that have preservatives and pesticides and, all these other chemicals in our body. So, why is it such a radical idea that we would have chemotherapy with the use of our fresh fruits and vegetables and our limiting, of non-organic or genetically modified foods? I mean, why is that a radical idea and, taking chemicals is not?
Well, the interesting part will be when he goes back home to see if he continues that regimen, because it is a little more challenging to eat like that. When you're making it yourself and buying yourself. Because most men don't look at the. I know my husband. He'll go to the supermarket and he'll bring home things that I end up taking back because he doesn't look at the labels.
Yeah. I don't know, Linda. I mean, it's going to be interesting because, there were chips in our house this weekend, which normally they aren't because I had a bunch of kids over to watch the Frozen movie. And I had bought, and I buy fruits and snacks and stuff like that. But, every once in a while, my kids will say, Mom, will you get a bag of chips? Because, chips and soda are not a staple in our house like they are in many households. When I go into the lunchroom and I see the kids, they bring this bag of chips every day. And, I wasn't raised on that stuff. I'm sure you weren't either. So it's no big deal for me to not have it in the house. But it's interesting because my dad will not acknowledge that these changes are because of his lifestyle changes in health and fitness and nutrition. But he said to me, he goes, I'm not going to say that, this is definitely because of it. He goes, but I'm definitely not going to say it's not. So I'm going to be interested to see what he does. What did he think
it was, a miracle?
Well, that's what I said. What else could it be? And he said, you're right. He's like, the only thing I've changed is the amount of physical exercise I get. And he gets very gentle physical exercise, walking or swimming, nothing crazy.
No, it's terrific. It's a great thing. And now that we're heading into spring and summer, you're outside more, you get more exercise, and he's going to be fit and ready for it.
Yeah, and he doesn't walk like an old man. And, I will tell you, when I had lunch with my agent, and my agent is 81, and I had lunch with him in Beverly Hills about a year ago with his identical twin. And his identical twin was a heavy meat eater, a heavy smoker, a heavy drinker, a heavy, eater. And, my agent wasn't. And my agent was a vegetarian and he did yoga. And they looked like 20 years apart. They
Yeah.
look like different human beings. And I will tell you, when my dad got here, he walked like an old man. You know, he had to hold the railing to get up the stairs, and he had balance problems, and his hips were stiff. And I'll tell you, after the yoga and the walking, he bends over. He doesn't, you know, it's like all that stuff is erased.
Well, if he really wants to continue, he should join a gym and do a few, you know, some of the exercises there, or a yoga class or something when he goes home, so that he will continue on the regimen. Let me tell you, now that I can hear myself,
good.
About the tickets. The strange thing about these tickets were there was 2 prizes, and one was a model airplane, because it was all about, you know, it's all aviation, and then it was the grand prize of these 2 first-class tickets on anywhere that Alaska Air flies. And I was sitting on my chair, and I said to I just closed my eyes for a second. I said, they're going to call my name. And then I heard my name, and I almost fell off my seat. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I walked up to they had like a little podium thing there where he was speaking, and I climbed up, because then they had to do pictures and everything. I was like in La La Land, because I just couldn't believe it, because that never happened to me before. Especially when, they're going to call my name, and they did. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was like the craziest thing.
That is amazing. So you had a premonition right before.
Yeah, right before. Right before. And it's not like I win things off. I just, I never have won anything before ever. And this was, it was a hoot. I'll tell you, I was overwhelmed. I came home and told my husband. I said, "Start packing." Now we just have to decide, where we're going to go. And then, of course, I have the problem. Okay, what do I do with my baby Lucy?
You know what? You can fly with her and leave her with me, and then you can go to Hawaii, and then come back and pick her up, knowing that she's perfectly taken care of.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to test it out. I think next week, because I'm doing a Passover Seder, and I thought it would be a lot easier if Lucy wasn't here. So I'm going to put her in a hotel for the night just to see how she makes out. It's an entree into hotels.
Oh, she's going to love it. She's going to be the most spoiled pooch there is going. And she's going to go first class on American Airlines. I'm just going to buzz in right now. Well, I got to take us to commercial break. My name is Sandra Beck. I'm here with Linda Franklin. And our guest coming up is Wendy Dotson. And she is part of a group called Midwives for Haiti. She owns her own midwife company. And we're going to talk about that because being a midwife came up as one of the popular choices for second half at life careers. So when we come back from the break, you're not going to want to miss this.
With Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
We often ask, is that all there is? Why is this happening to me? Why am I always broke? How am I going to survive this mess? Then join Dr. Geraldine Tegeloff for Nature Spirit Speak, 7 p.m. Tuesday evenings on TogiNet.com. Geraldine is a metaphysician, nature intuitive, and prosperity coach who shares with you how she went from totally broke to living what she would call her perfectly prosperous life. Through the combination of a wealth of metaphysical knowledge and her amazing ability as an intuitive, Geraldine brings to you the secrets of her magical journey of healing emotionally, spiritually, and financially. As with the ancient seers and master teachers, Geraldine has a unique gift of being able to connect to the simple yet profound messages brought to us by Mother Nature, and happily shares these through today's note to self on her webpage, naturespiritspeak.com. If you need help with your journey, why not connect with Geraldine during her show, Nature Spirit Speak, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Hey kids, do you think you're creative? Do you want to be? Don't have enough time for your arts, crafts, and hobbies? Or do you just need a kick in the pants? Hi, I'm Mark Lipinski, the host of Creative Mojo with Mark Lipinski, right here on TogiNet Radio. Come on and join me every Wednesday afternoon for some creative inspiration and 2 of the fastest fun-filled hours of your week. Hey, need ideas? How about a little motivation and a lot of inspiration? Join the fun on Creative Mojo with me, Mark Lipinski. I'm here live every Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. right here on TogiNet.com. Now what are you waiting for?
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. And from coast to coast, we've got you covered with the latest happenings and everything to do with money, sex, beauty, love, health. And today we're going to talk about one of the careers that has become more popular over the years as a second life career. And what those are we make a lot of money and we get ourselves all set up and we hit 40 or 50, and then we turn around and decide we don't want to do what we're doing for our life, and we create a second career for ourselves. So we are going to welcome on the show today Wendy Dotson, and she owns a midwife company, and she volunteers for Midwives for Haiti. So I'm really excited to have her on the air with us today. Wendy, are you with us?
I am, Sandra. Hi.
Hi. So I got to ask you, did you always want to be a midwife? Did you choose being a midwife in your younger years, or was this something that you created later in life for your own personal satisfaction?
I became a midwife pretty young. I was 27 when I first delivered a baby, I think, or first attended a birth. But I didn't know that I wanted to be a midwife, although I think in my heart I did want to be one, but I didn't know about it. I didn't know what a midwife was. In 1950s and 60s, there wasn't a career choice we talked about in school. So I actually got familiar with biology and blood and guts and all that, life sciences by working with animals. I worked for animal shelters. I worked for veterinarians. I became a veterinary technician. I went to Penn State to be a vet. Although I didn't go all the way through the program, I went on ahead and became a technical vet technician. But all of it was an infatuation with life and, being right in the heart of it.
Wendy, this is Linda, just so our listeners know, what credentials do you need to be a midwife?
It depends on where you are and what type of midwife credential you want to have. I am now a certified nurse midwife, and that's the kind of midwife that is medically accepted and able to work in hospitals, homes, or birth centers in all 50 states. So that's the type of nurse I'm a certified nurse midwife, and that type of midwife has, a little bit more of a niche in the medical community. But there are other types of midwives that also are now credentialed by many states. The main other credential is called the certified professional midwife, and the difference is that they don't deliver in hospitals. They definitely attend births in homes, and in fact, it's the only credential that requires home birth experience to get that credential. And they're trained instead of a university format necessarily. Many of those folks, many CPMs have university background, but that's not the requirement for their credential. It's more apprenticeship and passing an exam or several exams that show what your skill level is and what your knowledge base is.
But do they have any practical experience of delivering babies before they can go out and say that, yes, I'm a midwife?
Yeah, they have to pass exams and they have to pass apprenticeships and be signed off by preceptors, all of that. And then there's other people who practice as midwives that may not have those credentials, and it depends on what state you're in, what the requirements are. Most states have some requirements now for licensure where back in the day, you could just say I'm a midwife and show up at the health department and they would give you some birth certificates, but that's not the way it is in most places now.
Why would somebody choose a midwife, Wendy? I know a lot of us have heard the term. There's a couple movies out there, but what would be some of the criteria that someone would choose a midwife? And does choosing a midwife mean that you don't have a doctor present or a nurse present or a medical presence? And I don't mean that to sound insulting that a midwife isn't medical, but that's what I hear. When I was researching for our radio show today, that was some of the concerns that came up from our listeners who sent me in some questions.
Right. Well, it depends. Again, a lot of this is the it depends answer. It depends on what type of midwife. It depends on where you are. But so I'm going to just talk about my profession, if I can kind of narrow the scope. Would that be okay?
Yes,
So if you're a certified nurse midwife, you've already had a degree in nursing. Usually it's a bachelor's degree. Then you've worked as a nurse in the maternal health field, most of the time in labor and delivery and maybe postpartum and maybe newborn nursery. And then you go to graduate school, and most nurse midwives today get a master's degree and sometimes a doctorate. And we have to do even more deliveries and more clinical time. And in many states, we're licensed as nurse practitioners. So it's sort of an advanced practice nursing degree. And so then if you're a certified nurse midwife, you can apply for privileges in hospitals. You can get prescriptive authority to write prescriptions. I have a DEA number. And I am qualified to give entire comprehensive prenatal care to healthy women. So I wouldn't take someone who needs surgery or who's having a complicated pregnancy if they're having twins or if they're diabetic or if they already have blood pressure problems. I would not take that client. But a nurse midwife is qualified to give comprehensive prenatal care, attend the delivery in whatever setting, the hospital or a birth center if she works in a birth center, or even in a home if she has a home birth practice, and then to do the postpartum follow-up and the GYN follow-up. So we can even do her annual pap smear and family planning if she wants that. So the certified nurse midwife is instead of a doctor in most cases, unless things get complicated, but we always have a collaborative relationship with a physician if needed, and that's part of our job too, is to know what's normal and what's not normal.
Well, and that's what it sounds like. I always thought a midwife was just somebody who kind of came in the door with their pots and pans and a couple of rags and said, okay, it's baby time. But what I'm learning today on the air is that you're like a combination of a nurse, a doctor, an OBGYN, all those skill sets that we need, those little compartments that we need from each of those different specialties wrapped up in this like beautiful birth package.
Well, thank you for saying that. That's a lovely description, although I really greatly honor my OBGYN colleagues and don't feel that I replace them, because when I have a patient who's sick or needs surgery, I am so grateful to have really good relationships with physicians who help us. And I don't think I'm a replacement for them, but I do think that a healthy woman who's having an uncomplicated pregnancy and a normal birth doesn't necessarily need a doctor. And that's where I'm qualified to take care of those people. And women really love the experience because, as you say, we bring a lot of different talents to that situation. We do a lot of labor sitting and labor support, lots of hands-on, lots of personal connecting with the woman, a lot of letting the woman direct what she wants. For example, we're kind of known for being able to deliver a baby in whatever position. If a lady doesn't want to get into bed and wants to, stand up, that's fine. I know how to do that. If she wants to flip on her hands and knees to get her baby out, that's okay. We know how to do that. So there's differences, but no slight on our physician colleagues.
Would you say that most of the births that you attend to are done in a hospital, but you're facilitating, or are they at home and you're doing the whole thing on your own?
Well, right now, I have lived in all of those worlds. I have delivered babies in homes and in hospitals and in birth centers. And right now, I have had, for the last 15 years, I have been practicing in a hospital. And that's the only place that my group, I'm with a group of 6 full-time midwives, and we deliver only in a hospital. We're building a birth center on the grounds of the hospital, which is very exciting. But the reason we're in a hospital is because we figured out a few years back that women already had, the ones who wanted to have home births had a nice home birth practice in this area that was taking care of those mamas. And the people who wanted doctors were happy in the hospitals with the OBs that they had available. But the women who wanted both natural childbirth or to try natural childbirth, and yet they also wanted to be in the hospital, they weren't getting, the option of nurse midwifery care in a hospital. So that's what we offer. And it has been really popular. Women love the fact that they're going to have a midwife care for them through their pregnancy. They're going to go into labor and go to the hospital and meet us at the hospital. A lot of our moms come to us because they would like to have a birth that's, low intervention. A lot of people want to try natural childbirth. A lot of people succeed because we support them. But if they get to the hospital and things are complicated, or if they get to the hospital and say, whoa, this labor is not what I planned, they can have an epidural. They can have pain management. And they, so a lot of women like that, those options offered to them.
Well, and it sounds like you'd have an advocate. I had an emergency birth for my first child, and because I was so high risk after the complications of my first birth, I had to go high risk birth, my second. So a midwife wasn't an option. But it sounds like you'd have this great advocate. So instead of you suffering and people didn't know I was in back labor with my first baby until some old Russian nurse came in and yelled at all the younger nurses, she's in back labor, So it would have been nice to have somebody who knew what the hell was going on, with the whole birth process, because the nurses are busy kind of going in and out and taking their measurements and hooking you up to all these sort of things. And that's no disrespect for the nurses and the doctors. Everybody has their role to play. But it sounds like a midwife could be like a birth advocate, somebody that could come in and interface with the doctors and nurses on your behalf. And we've got maybe 2 minutes before break, so I just would like your comment on that, and then we'll continue after the break.
Oh, I think having labor support from a midwife is a huge asset to the care that we give, and that's why a lot of women come to us. They just want to know, will you be there when I'm in labor? They just want to know. And they also want to know that we know them, that we've met, we've talked. We're not somebody picking up from another practice coming in to just, fill in for a few hours, but we actually know the mom,
Well, and that's really important, I think, that knowledge, because I look at my girlfriends and we all had babies at the same time. And I will be honest, one of my girlfriends was the biggest, goofball in the world when it came to pain. You could just poke her with your little finger and she'd shriek. But then I had my stoic German friend who, you could club her to death and she still wouldn't ask for pain medication. So I think there's a huge variance in people in general. And I think, if somebody knew me, I think having a midwife would have been a great thing to have during my birth. And I love that we're talking about this today on Powered Up Talk Radio. My name is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin. And our guest today is Wendy Dotson of Loudoun Community Midwives. She's also a volunteer for Midwives for Haiti. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about midwives as a choice, midwives as a second career, midwives as a volunteer opportunity. So there's lots of things to talk about as I researched midwives and found that they are a popular second career choice, a labor of love, if you will. When we come back from the break, we're going to learn more about Wendy Dotson and her midwife practice.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
This is for all you girls about 42. Tossing pennies into the fountain of youth.
Time and change are accelerating, making it increasingly difficult to gracefully go with the flow. Women Change the World presents conversations with featured guests about changes in their lives and how that change has created new and positive opportunities. Women Change the World with your host, Dr. Beth Golden, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central here on TogiNet.com. We all know that change can knock you off course, and Dr. Beth's show and practices focus on revealing everything that's right with you. This information will help you make choices that align your true nature and set you along your path of least resistance. As Dr. Beth says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. For more on Dr. Beth and her show, go to drbethgolden.com. That's drbethgolden.com. Women Change the World with your host, Dr. Beth Golden, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central, here on TogiNet.com.
Martha Sanchez, the host of the Mommy to Mogul radio show, empowering women to build a successful business, invites you to join her on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Rockstar Radio Network. At the ripe age of 5, she was already interpreting information in documents and instructions on forms for her immigrant parents. Now, through her experience and those of her guests, she provides you with valuable steps to empower you to reach financial independence. Martha A. Sanchez is a registered nurse with with a Bachelor in Nursing and Masters of Business Administration. She's a business coach, speaker, author, and CEO of Moss International, LLC. Her diverse work experience brings you expertise in areas essential to customer service, social media, and budgeting. The Mommy to Mogul radio show furthers her personal mission of empowering women to help them build successful businesses so they can reach financial independence. Join Martha Sanchez, the host of the Mommy to Mogul radio show, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Rockstar Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
This is for all you girls about 42.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with Linda Franklin and this is Powered Up Talk Radio and we are about halfway through our show today. It's going fast. For those of you that missed the first half of the show, I invite you to check us out on iTunes. You can find us at Powered Up Talk Radio. You can go to the .com by the same name, powereduptalkradio.com, and find 2 seasons of informative, interesting, insightful, and exciting conversations with me and Linda about a wide variety of topics that relate to the women 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. Linda, I'm going to expand our market because I think some of the topics we cover are great for what I wish I knew when I was in my 20s.
Yes, if we knew in our 20s what we know now, it would have been a very different ride. But I don't think we would have wanted to, because life is an experience, and we learn from our experiences and what we've done and our mistakes, and it makes us the people we are as we get older. So every day is a new challenge and a new excitement.
I love that. You always have such a great way of putting things, like when I get sad or depressed, or it's my own personal therapy hour on the air. You always come back with something great.
Well, midwife. I mean, I've never had children, so I didn't have to make those choices. But I think if I had and I had known about this, I probably would go that route of having someone be there for my pregnancy and delivery and afterwards, because I think it has to be a very scary proposition for women to have children.
I think so. This thing's going to come shooting out of you in intense pain. Yeah. It's scary.
And then what do you do? And then he's there or she's there and say, "Oh my God, what now?"
Absolutely.
It's a pretty momentous occasion, and I feel really lucky to get to partake in it.
Yeah.
Wendy, how many babies have you delivered? Do you keep track like they did in in World War II on the side of airplanes?
Oh no, I've been a midwife since 1981, so I'm too old for that. Way over 1,000. Somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can't. After a while, you don't count after that. I just know that at our hospital, we each deliver about 100 babies a year, and I've been here 15 years, and I was a midwife before I came there. So that's the best, if you do the math, 15 times or 14 times 100, plus I did home births and birth center births before that. So, yeah, a lot.
Is every birth different, or does it get routine after a point? I just had to ask that because, my births were so completely different. One, I was, scared out of my wits. The other one, I was drugged out of my mind. So, they were kind of, more different. Do they kind of run the same, or is it every day a new challenge?
Well, yes and yes. What I would say, and when people ask me that, I say, each person's unique. So, of course, every birth is different and special. But, of course, I do normal births. If things are high risk, they get, they go into doctor care, and I stay a little with my mamas, but I don't perform the delivery of a high-risk person. But what I do say is birth is the same. Birth happens the same way for most women. And so when I see women in the office who had one baby with me or 2 babies or even 3, or I meet somebody in the grocery store, they say, "Oh, I remember you with my baby," and I remember their face and usually their name too. And I'll say, "Oh, good, how are you doing? It's good to see you." And I know the woman, I know her face, but she says, "And remember in my birth, you said this, you said, get on your left side," or something like that. And then they laugh because they're like, "Oh, you do so many babies, how can you remember the details?" And what I tell them is, you don't want me to remember your birth. You don't want me to remember the details of your birth, because if something crazy happened, that's the one I remember, the tough things, the scary stuff, the complicated deliveries that don't happen very often. When they do, those are memorable. Somebody who goes into labor and has a normal labor and a normal delivery, I just remember, oh yeah, she had a baby, it was nice, but I don't remember any details like she was the lady who liked hot water on her back, you know.
Or the lady who had like 3 babies came out and, you only thought there was one.
I've never had that happen, and I hope I never do, yeah. But those kinds of things, those crazy deliveries that, things go wonky, then you don't forget those.
When someone uses you, from pregnancy to birth and beyond, how does having you in the mix with the mama to be affect the papa to be? Is it more? Does it get more intimate? Does he get more involved? Does he get less scared? Just having you there to comfort him.
A lot of guys say that it does make them less scared because their wife feels more supported and more. Often feels more supported and more nurtured, and so it puts a little less pressure on the dad, just like having a doula at the birth. And that's sort of just a person who's there for emotional and physical support, but not medical, But having labor support really does take a lot of weight off of a dad. It kind of depends on the guy, how much support he needs from us. I'd say first-time dads certainly need more than, the guy who's seen his other 2 kids born, and he knows how this goes,
Right. Are all dads in the delivery room these days, or the place where the baby's being born?
Yeah, it's very rare that they don't come. Every once in a great while, I have a couple who she says, "Nope, he's not coming in," and that's great. It's really it's their thing.
Have you ever had one pass out?
Oh yeah,
hit the deck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I love that you bring that up, Linda, because that's all about, we advocate here on Powered Up Talk Radio, Wendy, that knowledge is power. And, we want to, bring the best experiences that people have to offer so that we can make, the best possible choices for ourselves. And if your ex-husband or your husband or the baby's father, like in my case, it was the ex-husband, he was not supportive. He was not good in a crisis. He didn't like blood. I could give you a list of reasons, and instead of fighting with him about you need to be my support because you're the father of this baby versus going, well, I can hire that support and bring this person in, you recognize what the needs are in the relationship. And I would think that, with a lot of these husbands, like I live in an engineering military community, and there's a lot of them that aren't real excited about watching the baby being born or being that support arm for their wife. It would almost be a relief for some of these husbands. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. And there's no almost about it. A lot of dads love the fact that they're there for one thing. They're there to be a dad and to be with her, but not necessarily to, they're not, a lot of guys are not great caregivers. A lot of them are, but, especially your military guys, they're leaders, they're soldiers. They're not necessarily great at, nurturing and helping somebody when they throw up, So if I do my job and he does his, then they love the fact that it takes some pressure off of them at things they're not necessarily good at.
With your charitable organization, delivering babies in Haiti, now that's got to be a very different experience than delivering a baby in the United States.
Oh, no kidding! Just crazy different. Because it's a really undeveloped. The healthcare system is very undeveloped in Haiti. They have hospitals, but they're very poorly supplied, and it's a whole different situation. So it's a really desperate situation in Haiti, and so. Yep, very different. And plus, the county I live in is one of the wealthiest counties in America, so our hospitals are beautiful, and not so much in Haiti.
So when you're there, you're just helping out delivering the babies.
I don't do many deliveries because I'm teaching Haitian women how to be midwives.
Oh.
So I'm there as a teacher. This nonprofit I work with is called Midwives for Haiti, and it is a bunch of certified professional midwives, certified nurse midwives, and obstetricians, and even family practice doctors, but mostly midwives who are practicing they're trained and practicing in the U.S. And we go as just faculty that help train the Haitian midwives. We support a program that has Haitian books and books in Haitian Creole and Haitian teachers. So that there's a program that we've collaborated with Haitian people to build so that, and the whole purpose is because Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and they have the highest maternal mortality rate. More mothers die in childbirth in Haiti than anywhere else in the Western Hemisphere. That's South America, Central America, and the whole Western Hemisphere. And the way we're trying to stop moms from dying is by training midwives. It's kind of, you hear so many. Who doesn't know somebody who works in an orphanage in Haiti, right? There's so many orphanages because, guess why? Because moms die. So we're not trying to build orphanages. We're trying to prevent orphans.
What's the main reason these women are dying? Is it the lack of sanitary conditions or problem pregnancies that nobody diagnoses before the actual birth?
That's another one that's a yes and a yes. It's the entire situation in Haiti. Women die from lack of prenatal care, from poor nutrition, from sanitation problems, from all of those, from infectious disease. And all of those things combining to cause them to have a problem pregnancy and a dangerous delivery. And most of those moms don't deliver in a hospital with any kind of trained care provider. Most women in Haiti deliver with no trained person present in their little home that usually does not have water, running water, or electricity. So it's
horrifying.
So it's hard to survive that. It's a crazy high number of moms who don't survive pregnancy and birth in Haiti.
Well, it's amazing that the babies survive and the moms don't.
Yeah, sometimes many babies die too, but the problem is with a mama dying is that usually more than one child is orphaned. So you can one mother death can create a lot of orphans.
That makes sense. Wendy, we have about 2 minutes to the end of the segment here. I'd like you to give people the opportunity to learn more about Midwives for Haiti. Can you talk a little bit about where they can go and how they can contact and how they can help?
Absolutely. There's a great website called midwivesforhaiti.org, and that is, it's got a beautiful website. I'm looking at it right now, and you can donate. You can read all about the mission and what they do. People who can volunteer, you can find out what's an appropriate volunteer. So, there's certain people that can be helpful, or some people that would be more helpful by donating. But you can read all about it on midwivesforhaiti.org. And also, if you want to read it from a personal angle, I write a blog about it when I'm there, and it's called Haiti's Babies at blogspot.com. So anybody could Google Haiti Babies and see that as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Wendy Dotson of Loudoun Community Midwives, for being our guest today. You've cleared up a lot of misconceptions, I think, about the midwifery occupation. And when we come back from the break, we are going to visit with intimacy expert Michael Russer, and we're going to talk about Section 3 of our year-long plan of creating better intimacy between you and your partner for 2014. Those websites, again, were midwivesforhaiti.com and haitibabies.blogspot.com. Oh, .org. Sorry about that. I'll do it after the break.
Have you ever wondered if you're normal or why you feel distant from your partner? Then join us for Sex Talk with Lou, with your host Lou Paget on TogiNet Wednesday nights 9/8 Central. Do you want to recreate a truly connected relationship, or wonder, how do I tell my kids about things? Join Lou Paget, one of the world's best-selling authors in the field of sexuality, a certified sex educator and sought-after expert for all media, and her renowned expert guests as they discuss anything and everything about sex that impacts our lives and our families' lives. For more on Lou, check out her website, loupaget.com. This is the show where the best experts in the field of sexuality and sexual health can finally give you the answer to that question. Join us for Sex Talk with Lou, with your host Lou Paget, Wednesday nights at 9/8 Central on TogiNet.com.
Finally, a show that supports women who are in the midst of a transition in midlife. The show is Second Wind. Here's what certified coach, author, and host of Second Wind, Joyce Buford, wants you to know.
It's so empowering for women to hear about other women and their accomplishments.
We all need cheerleaders, someone who's on our side.
Second Wind is that program to help women connect with other women, hear other women's stories,
In a stressful world,
find power in those stories.
learn to discover your passions and joys again. Create the life you want to live to the fullest. Join us for Second Wind with Joyce Buford, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Central, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and we were just visiting with Wendy Dotson of Loudoun Community Midwives. And the website that we were talking about, Linda, I blew it. It's haitibabies.blogspot.com, and then it's midwivesforhaiti.org. I thought that was a pretty interesting. I didn't know half of that stuff about midwives. How about you?
Well, again, when it wasn't personal for me, I didn't know anything about it. But as I said, if I was having a baby, or I certainly would want to take advantage of that. I think having that support is terrific, especially when I'd never have a baby outside of a hospital. But if you can be in the hospital, so if something does go wrong unexpectedly, you can be treated properly. But to have the experience of having them be your advocate there, I think it's wonderful.
I do too, and I love that it's an opportunity also for women. I thought it was a neat second career choice. I was really surprised to see that on the list of popular second careers.
Right, and the stories of the women in Haiti, that's horrifying. Not shocking, because I think but horrifying that in this world things like that still go on, and that's just one country where it does.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're going to lighten things up a little bit, and we're going to talk to Michael Russer about intimacy. And today's topic, we're going to kind of go along the baby route and talk about couples that are very, very busy couples and the specific intimacy challenges they face. And this is part of our 12-part intimacy series with Michael Russer of HardlyBroken.com. Michael, it's nice to have you back.
Well, thank you. It's awesome to be back. It sounded like it was quite an earlier segment there.
It was quite eye-opening. We try to raise awareness on our show, and we raised a lot of awareness about choosing a midwife. Now, once the baby is here and you've got two couples working and things are very busy, it's really, really difficult, I can tell you from my own experience, to sustain intimacy and to grow an intimate relationship. How did you find that in your relationship, Michael, with respect to your children?
Oh boy, that's a good one. Everything was wonderful after we got married, and we started and built a company together, and it was great. But then we had kids. Now, not to blame the kids, but that just threw a huge monkey wrench into the intimacy works, as it were, and everything changed. And over the years, it just kept getting worse and worse. And you know the story. I ended up ending a 28-year marriage, and I take full responsibility of that. But the cracks started after we had kids, and it didn't have to be that way, Sandra.
Michael, I haven't had children, so I can't relate to it personally. But is it that the moms become, forget the time issue, which is, do the moms become more moms than wives? And do the husbands then see them as moms and not as sexual beings anymore?
Linda, you're close. What I can only speak for what happened to me, but I suspect it's fairly common in most marriages. And what happens is this, is that in any relationship, you're going to start having little cuts, little, hurts and things that where we kind of put up our little, defenses and that sort of thing. Well, it becomes exacerbated when you start having kids because it is so socially sanctioned, and as it should be, for the focus to be on kids. But the trap here, and this is the trap I fell into, is that the kids become the sole focus and we forget about how they came to be in the first place. The sanctity of that union that was, so important to create these kids. And so unfortunately what happens is to a form of shutdown can be where the focus goes on the kids and not on the couple that created them. And that's where it starts.
Well, and Michael, what I think of it as, like you, I left a long-term marriage, I left a 10-year marriage, and I had two little, I had a toddler and an infant at the time when I ended my marriage. What I think happens also is that it's a little bit like water that pours into the cracks in the sidewalk. Like, a lot of the times the cracks are there, but we don't really see them until the ice freezes and expands and makes that crack bigger. So, I can look back in my marriage and go, there were cracks there, and then the kids just came and busted them wide open.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. And especially, once you get into the soccer mom age, where then you're running them around every place, and it really became quite something. At one point, we actually had a marriage counselor, and she came in and she had my wife write down on a whiteboard everything she did during the day. What was her primary focus during a typical day? And then when she was done, the marriage counselor looked up at the board, looked at her, then looked at me, and she says, "Where's Michael?" And my wife just shrugged her shoulders. It was all kids, and that was it. And so, it definitely can exacerbate things, but it doesn't have to be that way. And what's so unfortunate is that as a couple, we really need to demonstrate what intimacy is about so that our kids end up growing up having very healthy views of what it's like to be intimate from an emotional standpoint, emotional intimacy, because that's usually what goes first. And then, of course, little public affections that kind of give an indication of what physical intimacy can start like.
I mean, I know you're not a doctor, and neither am I, but why do you think after having babies that women don't want to have sex as much? Is it just a time thing, or they just see themselves differently?
Yeah, I think there's some of both there. And also, after you have children, your body changes. And a lot of women become very self-conscious about the changes to their body. And if the husband is insensitive about that, then, that can cause additional friction. I was on Blythe Lipman's show, Baby Toddler Instructions. Now, for what I talk about in that show, you'd think, how's that even possible? But in the end, she asked me, "Michael, what do you say to the husband when he's he's got that look, and his wife and mother, their two young kids, are looking like, don't even think about it, buddy." And and I said that the best advice I can give is to control that urge, give her a massage, get her a glass of wine, just rub her and cuddle with her, and don't expect anything more. Just start slowly building that emotional intimacy back up. And it was funny because at the end, when I said that, Blythe started applauding online. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, and I bet her lines lit up, because I can tell you, I can make it real simple for everybody here, because, I know exactly what that feels like. And it's a very, very simple formula. I'm going to give it to every man out there. No help equals no sex. Help equals sex. It's really that simple. When you are up all night diapering and cooking and cleaning and feeding, and it's never ending, it's like the equivalent of some man getting an extra job to do on the side with everything else he has to do. That's exactly what it feels like when a kid comes into the mix as a woman. And if
That's
you
right.
want me to feel receptive to you, if you want me to love you, then you get up in the middle of the night and you burp that kid and you put the diaper on him and you let me sleep. And I promise you, you will not regret it.
Right, exactly. You will be yeah, that's the thing. And you have to like build back that emotional intimacy that can be lost on the wayside in the flurry of poopy diapers and crying and taking kids to the doctor and everything else. And it doesn't sound very romantic, but it can be. And it is incumbent upon the husband, and I'll say this right now, it is incumbent upon them to become very cognizant and aware of their wife and now mother's need, and when it comes to intimacy, because hey, it's not like they don't want to have it, but their approach better be different than it was in the past, because the last thing you want the wife to feel is like she has to do her quote unquote wifely duty. And
well, yeah, because the guy goes, Michael, the guy goes to work and he comes home and his job ends. Moms, whether they're stay-at-home moms, full-time moms, or working moms, their job never ends. It goes at 7 o'clock when the kid pukes. It goes at 10 o'clock when somebody has a meltdown. They can't find their homework for the next day. And then you got the new baby up at 2 o'clock in the morning wanting to eat from your already exhausted body. There are so many more demands on the mother than the father. And I'm sorry, go ahead and send me hate mail, every man out there. But the babies need the mom. The kids need the mom more than they need the dad, especially in the younger years.
That's right. Now, Linda, don't you feel like you missed something there without having kids after all that?
No, not really. Although now that I never had kids, I wouldn't mind having a 35-year-old around, but I wouldn't have wanted to experience the first 35.
You have me. You don't need one. You have me. I have to come to you all the time, Linda, for parenting.
That's okay.
You know that.
It just seems to me, just from looking at it from the outside, that when these problems arise, and they arise right at the beginning, I would say after the baby comes, that you have to communicate, you have to talk, you have to verbalize of what you're feeling, and come up with some way to sort of appease each other. I think the longer that you let it go without talking about it, without communicating, then it comes almost irreparable, because it's just the way you're living now.
Yeah, it leads to shutdown, and the focus of the shutdown, or I should say the bounce back from the shutdown, is let's focus on the kids. I'm just going to focus on the kids. The hell with him. And then the man's feeling, God, I'm just a beast of burden. I'm just here to earn the money so that the family can run. And then tremendous resentment builds on both sides, and that communication is critical.
You guys, as always, our segment went super fast. We are with Michael Russer of HardlyBroken.com. This is section 3 of our year-long segments on intimacy building. We also visited with Wendy Dotson of Loudoun Community Midwives, and you can find her at midwivesforhaiti.org and haitibabies.blogspot.com. And we thank you for being with us today, and we will be back next week with lots of powered up talk radio programming. My name is Sandra Beck. For Linda Franklin, Michael Russer, Wendy Dotson, we encourage everybody out there to communicate, talk about it, do whatever you have to do to make your life a better place. That's all about being powered up.
We're so glad you joined us for Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. Sandra Beck, Los Angeles-based single mother and technology company owner, knows what it's like to be fit, funny, and fantastic in your 40s. Linda Franklin, a New Yorker with a successful marriage and